Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Viewpoint from ABC World. From Addis Ababa, that is the voice of Pan-Africanism, and I'm Sintayo Tamrat with my co-host Biniam Getane. Today's edition will focus on the 2025-2026 budget year Ethiopian government's plan, and we will delve onto the priority areas that Ethiopian President Taye Selassie outlined during the opening session of, that is a joint session of the House of People's Representatives and the House of Federation on Monday. So do stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching us. A very warm welcome to you, Biniam.
Sintayo, thank you so much for having me, and really appreciate for the opportunity to provide me this platform to reflect what has happened over the past 1 week, particularly focusing what happened on Monday, especially when President Taye Selassie underscored various issues with importance, underscoring what the country has been going on.
Yeah, so as he addressed, as I said, the House mandates, two houses, the House of Federation and the House of People's Representatives, the President, just one of the major areas is just the macroeconomy. Could you please shed some light on that?
Indeed. As the President underscored, of course, there were several pointers, but he commenced by, informing people how the country successfully registered in connection with economic performance. So the economy has shown, according to the President, it has shown strong performance last fiscal year, registering about 8.8% growth. So according to the President, when he was elaborating to the joint session of the House of People's Representatives and the lower chambers of the Parliament, he underscored that this significant change that Ethiopia has registered, and he said the government will consolidate and strengthen this particularly issue and rate the growth rates to 9% through strengthening the macroeconomic stability and broadening growth across the key sector. Meanwhile, the President told this issue to the Parliament during the joint session, and there are also a series of initiatives while he was expanding on this issue of macroeconomy, including the large-scale fertilizer production plant will be also operationalized to revolutionize farming practices and help the country achieve good food self-sufficiency, according to the President. Further, the President emphasized also other important pointers in connection with beginning of a transformative period for the Ethiopian's agricultural sector as the new Ethiopian fiscal year commenced on July 8. And then he highlighted especially the government's strategic commitment to enhancing food security, as well as reducing the country's resilience on imported food supplies. And the very central to this effort is the launch of several ambitious national initiatives that are aiming improving the farming productivity and efficiency. Meanwhile, in this case, one of the most significant projects among these is the establishment of a large-scale fertilizer production, as I've said, and this facility is anticipated to play a key role in increasing access to affordable, locally produced fertilizers to farmers across the country by reducing dependency on expensive imported fertilizers and ensuring also timely availability. The plant also will enable farmers to improve crop yields and adopt more sustainable and modernized farming methods. Likewise, the President Taye suggested that these initiatives are not short-term solutions, but part of a broader long-term vision to achieve the agriculture self-reliance in the case of Ethiopia. And the focus is on empowering farmers with resources, technologies, and support needed to enhance productivity. Meanwhile, through these developments, Ethiopia aims to improve toward this food self-sufficiency, reduce poverty in rural communities, and strengthen the national economy by boosting agricultural output. There are also pointers like noting that Ethiopia earned a record of 8.3 billion USD dollar from the export during the last fiscal year, and the president said the government will diversify its economic foundation to support export businesses and strengthening the economic growth. So there is another point in connection with tourism, as we've heard when the president.
So here, let me just interrupt you here. Sorry, and the projection for the economic growth projection for the next year, this is just the year started in fact, is 9%. So which sectors are to be base for that?
Well, as the president underscored with the time given, the points are already underscored, but tourism also is another thing that has been coming while the speech was delivered. As you know, tourism is one of the significant pillars for the country, as obviously we know that the country is registering a significant amount of record when it comes to tourism, especially right after Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to office. We've seen the expansion of tourism as a fundamental economic sector. So in this regard, the tourism development will also remain as a key priority, with plans to expand tourist destinations, preserve culture and natural heritage that enhances the air transport infrastructure, to improve accessibility and also enhance global competitiveness. That's what President Tayyas Selassie said. In this case, the government will also strive to strengthen critical sectors such as irrigation, water, energy, and transport. And at the end of the day, also we've heard that the expansion of road, railway, and other relevant points, including networks and logistics system, in order to sustain the country's economic momentum.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And just the government has already just put priorities, but strengthened some of the priorities of the previous year, or maybe the previous several years, because as you mentioned, just agriculture is the backbone of Ethiopian economy for decades now, and the service sector also supports that, but majorly agriculture is the backbone of Ethiopian economy, as I said. And the government has already placed greater emphasis for that, just modernizing the agriculture sector. The president, as I heard, said that Ethiopian agriculture has been backwarded for centuries, and now the government is just trying to modernize that and paying attention, starting since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed took power. And as you said, there are just several initiatives and for self-reliance in food, or food self-sufficiency. Ethiopia, just Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed launched an initiative, and that initiative is the Bounty of Baskets initiative. So with that Bounty of Baskets initiative, several achievements have been registered with livestock production, the quality and the number of livestock, and also poultry. And also, for example, the summer wheat program, you can see that is just being expanded to other regions. For example, the first one, as I think, is just started in Oromia region, and even including Afar and Somali regions. Some other regions have also started that, and that has just shown big results. That's why Ethiopia exported wheat for the last 2 years. So it is just big achievement since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power, that it showed immense results on the agriculture sector. So agriculture is just contributing to Ethiopia's economy highly, and for the country's food self-sufficiency as well.
Yeah,
that
definitely. Apart from what you've said, of course, the agricultural sector has been showing tremendous changes due to all the efforts coming from the concerning bodies, and what the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been also doing along with the other people is tremendously known. Obviously, of course, according to President Tayyas Selassie, changing the previous, successes. Like we've been using a traditional way of farming and also unmodernized aspect of producing things. Now, it's a very high time that Ethiopia should integrate, technologies and use a better way of producing agricultural activities in order to enhance the country's economy, and industrialization should be also the one thing that we have to amalgamate with this in order to achieve a better result or expect a better result. The more we modernize the agricultural system through industrialization, mechanized farming and other aspects that can actually changes the swiftly the economy of the country in terms of agriculture. So in summary, the president's actually message was reflected as a forward-looking strategy where the government-led infrastructures, as you've mentioned, the fertilizer plant, act as a catalyst for the agricultural transformation, and these efforts are also designed to ensure that Ethiopia can meet the food demands of its growing population while building a resilient and independent agricultural sector. I think this is one of the very point according to the President Taye Asqe-Selassie during the joint session.
As we mentioned, just agriculture is a key to Ethiopian economy, but it does not mean without infrastructure, and you mentioned that road infrastructure is one. So the government has also just placed emphasis for the engagement of the private sector in the agriculture as well. So when you have just access to roads, when you have access to electricity, because agro-processing is not possible without supply of adequate power to that sector. So the road is the emphasis government has put on, and the power supply, the energy infrastructure, the telecom. Telecom now plays a key role. For example, farmers need just to have some sort of information regarding early warning systems so that they can just choose the best time for sowing, the best time for plowing, the best time to do some irrigation, and just to deter flooding or heavy rain effects like that. So
it's obvious, like we cannot deny the
let me finish here, sorry for interruption. So this and just the expansion of airports in many areas of the country will also attract the private investment to the agriculture sector as well in agri-processing. That is just a great deal for the Ethiopian farmers as well as the Ethiopian economy, because agro-processing can lead to the augment in the Ethiopia's export, which government highly wants and has placed greater emphasis as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching ABC World and our program, our weekly program, Viewpoint. And today's discussion is on the Ethiopian government plan for the 2025-2026 budget year. Do stay tuned. Well, Bini, now let's move on to the next point, that is social aspect. And how did you get President's outlining of the major emphasis areas on the social aspect?
Yeah, I think allow me to add a few points on the already mentioned ideas because
I think we don't have just time for that.
Okay, let's proceed. Another important points that President Taye Asqe-Selassie held during the recent reform as a historic transformation that ended the year's decline and positioned the country forward for renewal. As you know, Ethiopia is in a very unusual ways registering several achievements in economy, politics, and other diplomacy activities. So, according to President Taye Asqe-Selassie, the economy grew by 9.2% in the 2024 and 25 fiscal year, driven by strong performance in agriculture and manufacturing exports. So he told the parliament that agricultural output climbed about 24.7 PC to 1.57 million quintals, while manufacturing capacity utilization rose to 65.2 PC, and not forgetting gold production, which aged up to 39 stone, and cement output reached about 9.1 million tons. In the meantime, the export surged 115.88 PC to 8.3 billion dollars, and bank lending expanded also to 822.8 billion, but with 77 PC, which is directed to the private sector. And inflation is another point, which is from 19.9 PC in June 2024 to 13.9 PC in the June 25.
Yeah, Bini, thank you so much. And now let's move on to, as I mentioned earlier, to the social sector. And one of the priority areas the government put is on education. And how could you gauge the plan?
Yeah, education is always fundamental. And as we know, our country is going through lots of bottlenecks, especially when it comes to the education sector. In the past year, we have seen some challenges, and the government has tried its own very best, along with private stakeholders, in order to bring a quality education in mind, of course. But what the President Taye Asqe-Selassie said during the joint session is quite interesting, because he detailed, of course, the government's comprehensive strategy, focusing primarily on the two critical areas. One is elevating education quality and aggressively developing the tourism sector as a core economic pillar. So speaking of the education sector, a special focus was given or being placed on the education quality by identifying current states as the primary cause of the breakdown observed in the younger generation. And the Prime Minister addressed, the President addressed that the administration is actively working to expand the construction of several infrastructures, including formal schools, and it's also committed to strengthen the expansion going forward. And further, the government gives also vast attention to the future generation by working intensely on children development and education. So key initiatives which has been mentioned, including the improving of the women's participation in vocational trainings, or the TVET training, is also another thing that can actually ensure and produce skilled manpower or professionals in different economic sector that needs safeguarding the economic freedom of the higher education. And institutions as well, who are playing a great role in strengthening to bring a quality education. So education has been given a great emphasis according to the President, and I think there are also recent workers going forward to bring Ethiopians' education quality to a higher extent.
Yeah, sure. I think the government identified some very important points regarding the Ethiopian education sector, and that's why quality is a priority area in the education sector. And the government has also just appreciated just the work is done in the health sector and the women and girls empowerment and kind of issues like that. And when we come to the health sector, the government has just initiatives to produce some pharmaceuticals locally that boosts up the country's health sector capacity. And it also has strategies launched to prevent diseases earlier, that is just proactively preventing diseases, and also just curing actively some of the diseases with local capacity. And coming to the next point,
maybe,
which is...
I'm sorry for the interruption, if I have to add, as you have been talking about education, the government has also given a special emphasis to work closely, especially by expanding educational access in pastoralist areas, that aims to increase the enrollment situation in both primary and secondary education. And the school feeding program is also something that we have to underscore according to
So that must be appreciated, because Ethiopia has a great deal of pastoral communities, so just improving the life of pastoralists through education is really a very great idea. Now let's move on to the next point, which is the tourism sector. So can you just add a few points on that and move on to the next one?
It's obviously, we know how the tourism sector is, helping Ethiopia, because we know Ethiopia is a country endowed with several historical heritages, from cultural to many other forms. And in this regard, what's happening currently, especially as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is in office, is quite significant, because here and there we see developmental sectors that ultimately promotes Ethiopia's tourism potential in a higher extent. So in this regard, what the President have said is, while keeping all the cultural and historical heritages, we need to work forward by adding different kind of quality, expanding all the tourism destinations, especially the new one, which of course we were seeing it happening in different corner of the country. So the President said that expanding the new tourism destination is one priority for the government, and we can talk about for this the Bishop to new airport transportation, as you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is ABC World, this Viewpoint, coming to you live from ABC studio here in Addis Ababa, the diplomatic capital of Africa. Thank you so much for watching us again, and do stay tuned.
Yeah, I think we have many pointers. I know time is always against us, and you have underscored very critical pointers that has been delivered by President Taye Asqe-Selassie. And as we know, among the pointers which are mentioned, can you possibly shed some lights, especially in connection with Ethiopia's interest in requesting access for sea outlets, and in connection with national interest? What take do you have on that?
You've just raised a very nice question, but I thought today I'm here just to ask you. Anyways, if you ask me, President Taye outlined just a number of issues regarding national interest, but let me just focus on three major areas, and that is these are Ethiopia's strategic geopolitical shift amid the non-stop changes in the global geopolitics and political economy, as well as the link between the two waterways, the Abai River and the Red Sea. And the third point is maintaining diplomatic efforts to ensure regional peace and security, as well as regional integration. So let me just delve onto these 3 points. And regarding the first one, the President firmly asserted that considering the incessantly growing changes in the global geopolitics and political economy, as well as power balances, Ethiopia is actively rearranging its geostrategic standing and making a strategic shift that moves the country from a passive observer to the global and the regional economic, social, cultural, or whatever event is unfolding each time in a very dynamic manner. So Ethiopia is just moving to the agenda setter and exerting influences globally. This is what the country has been working and has been attaining. So according to President Taye, this will continue in the new year to maintain Ethiopia's national interests in the domestic, regional, and international arenas regarding peace and security, diplomacy, and prosperity. So the next point is the deep interlink between Ethiopia and the Abai River, as well as Ethiopia and the Red Sea. The President underlined, and with due emphasis on this area, and the country is created between the Abai River and the Red Sea. The President, word by word, said there is a deep-rooted link between Ethiopia and the Red Sea, and Ethiopia and the Abai River. So continued diplomatic and peaceful engagement to secure a sea outlet is a must, he said. Through regional cooperation and trust building among Nile Basin countries, diplomatic efforts will pursue, and it is grows and decline. It's grows and decline. I mean, just Ethiopia's grows and decline, particularly not Ethiopia's grows and decline. Ethiopia's grows and decline, as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed outlined so far during the inauguration of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, is interlinked with the growth, the prosperity of its neighbors. So you cannot just develop or prosper alone. That is what President Taye repeated on Monday in the parliament session. So Ethiopia's growth and decline are closely tied to the waterways, and this development or prosperity is together with the two countries. Ethiopia has come a long way diplomatically since the establishment of the Nile Basin Initiative. That is, I think, some 20 years back. 2 decades is not a simple thing. And after that, there have been several negotiations and diplomatic efforts to bring that Nile Basin Initiative to the Nile River Commission. But there have been just big efforts from downstream, particularly Egypt, who has been just trying to destabilize the region and to destabilize the cooperation on the Nile River as well, in just saying or in bringing some agendas, in setting some agendas that does not just bring these countries together in a cooperative manner. This is how the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has passed through the last 14 years. And finally, Ethiopia has won and attained the realization of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And now just countries, I hear that Kenya, Tanzania are just planning to build their dams to generate hydropower. So they are just trying to use the Nile waterways, because the diplomatic effort is Ethiopia has brought. That is just the struggles of Ethiopia. In fact, the Nile riparian countries have also in support of Ethiopia's vision, because the very essence of Ethiopian struggle during the arguments at the UN Security Council, as well as here locally, I mean just regionally, is that the Nile waters must be used for all, and equitably, fairly, without inflicting significant harm to downstream countries. And Ethiopia is also just aspiring to build some joint projects with countries on the Nile River and just using for mutual benefits. So the growth is not for Ethiopia. The development is just for all the riparian countries, despite just Egyptian claims regarding the water of the Nile and so on. We also just have heard a lot about regarding this Nile River thing. Just the flooding in Khartoum is not about because of the Ethiopian dams. I mean, just the release of water from the Ethiopian dam. It is just highly because of the rain in areas of in the White Nile Basin. So that's not. Even the Sudanese ministries said in their statement is this. They attested that. But Egyptians are still claiming that the water is just coming from Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which has been just the continuation of their false allegations on Ethiopia since maybe, I'm just to say, since the launching of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam 14 years back. But Egyptians were just trying to accuse Ethiopia of deterring the dam since the regime of Melik. So the other important point is on the access to the sea. Ethiopian economy is growing.
It is.
And the population as well is growing. 130 million people is not a simple thing. So it is just based on this, and based on Ethiopia's historical right as well, that the Ethiopian government is just outlining this as a critical key point. It's national interest. So Ethiopian national interest cannot be just maintained without seaport.
Exactly.
I think this is just the implications of President Haile Selassie's plan, while he says that Ethiopia's destiny is rooted in the Red Sea as well.
Yeah, I mean...
So Ethiopian economy, as we said, is growing. As you mentioned earlier, there are just huge development projects, and for these development projects, the country needs some inputs, raw materials, and so on, just to be imported.
Yeah.
And most importantly, we need just to see that the power dynamic, the military power dynamism across the Red Sea. There are just a number of countries, including China, Russia, the US, UK, and Turkey. Many other countries are there with their military forces. So what if there is some sort of disagreement between these, and if they act militarily? What is the fate of these 130 million people? You see? So the government of Ethiopia is just trying to speculate this and just trying to find solutions before that time comes. So these two are just the major priority areas the president just put. And another important point, maybe just let me finish this one, is the election. The 7th national election is also just given priorities. The government wants that to be fair, peaceful, democratic, and credible for Ethiopians, and also the national dialogue. And the president finally called for the people of Ethiopia and Ethiopian friends to be voice, also just to be united for this big cause of local and regional as well as global implications.
Yeah, I think I was so struck by your speech because when you were talking about the importance of GERD, it has always been, you know, in the blood of Ethiopians for long years, as it's been stated in Meddemer book. We have been regretting the fact that we couldn't able to use our latent potential. And speaking of the GERD, it's not only a dam that we produce energy, but it has totally altered the geopolitical situation in the Horn of Africa. And then, as you've mentioned, there are several countries who are eyeing on that one. And Ethiopia, in this regard, becomes a voice for Africans because the completion of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has been inspiring several countries, experts, political agenda setters, and many others, and it becomes a center of attention. This is also another important dynamic for Ethiopia. And back to the president address, I think I like to mention this one. He also announced that the cause of securing reliable and sustainable sea access is a question of life and death. So we cannot negotiate because for many years we haven't used it properly, and now it's a high time that Ethiopia has got to stand arms in akimbo and utilize that in a peaceful manner using the already established and peaceful diplomatic move. And also it has a country has achieved also interesting agendas and economic development, heightening the international recognition. According to the president, he says Ethiopia in this regard has achieved international regulations as the diplomacy is going very fruitfully. And the president also highlights the the government's success in repatriating citizens who endure exploitation abroad. And the national dialogue also is another important point that the president has underscored, because this could help
before
us.
leaving just this point, the GERD and the sea access, Ethiopia has, as I told you, just has come across a number of diplomatic endeavors, efforts. So that has just borne fruits. For example, the GERD has been realized, and many African countries as well as the world is just realizing the reality behind Egyptian allegations, that there have been just a number of groundless accusations from Egypt. The world has now just learning about these facts, the facts of Ethiopia, the realities of Ethiopia, the truths of Ethiopia, and the rights of Ethiopia to use its own natural resources. Ethiopia is a country that contributes 85% of the Nile River, is not to use this water. It's not sound. It's not just. So the world is now perceiving this fact, and that's a great point. And another big achievement is that the world is now recognizing that the Red Sea was Ethiopian, and now Ethiopia has a right to use that. The world has now understood that this agenda must be addressed peacefully as Ethiopia has been claiming and will continue to do so according to President Tayas Selassie.
Sure.
Thank you, Binyam. So I think let me give you the chance to
of course, if
summarize
I have to add a very few points about what
I think the studio
President
people are just wanting us to...
Taye has said regarding the domestic stability. He underscored that although we possess the capacity to correct and settle conflicts appearing across the country by force, the government holds a firm belief that lasting peace can only be secured through peaceful means. So it is encouraging that it is through peaceful dialogue that you can iron out the kind of misunderstanding that happening here and there. So according to the president, a successive story has been registered as Ethiopia is moving forward to achieve its sustainable goal, if I'm done with this.
Dear viewers, thank you so much for watching us, and that is the conversation on Viewpoint today. And we delved onto the government plan for 2025-2026 fiscal year. I'm Sintayo Tamarat with my co-host Binyam Getane. Thank you so much again for staying with us. See you.